So, of course, getting ready to dive into this game, we're actually going to be having Cizzorz and CouRage face off against Mitch Jones and GernaderJake. Now, we talked about losers quarter games. Not that we're hating on any of our teams, but by no means has this been kind of an expected losers quarter matchup. We talked about the TSM boys being Hamlins and Myth. You also talked about Crafty and HD. They'd probably be around this position as well. However, not making it up to this point. I think what was like maybe 2 weeks ago, we had a little bit of more of a surprising tournament. Definitely kind of some unexpected results. We saw Dementos and Mongrel, the 13 and 17-year-old phenomenons, make it through. We could also argue this week a little bit kind of surprising when it comes down to kind of our later stages matches. But quickly, as far as this game is considered, right, losers quarters, give me your guys' thoughts, right? Maybe even some predictions as well heading into this matchup regarding CouRage and Cizzorz versus GernaderJake and Mitch Jones. Any initial thoughts coming into this game as we get ready to drop?
I'm giving the nod to CouRage and Cizzorz. I've watched CouRage stream a lot. I've also watched GernaderJake stream. He's really good.
Yeah.
That being said, we did watch a match with CouRage and Cizzorz earlier, and they played really well, got a lot of kills. Just because I've seen CouRage play a lot more, and I think he's really good, and he comes from kind of like an FPS background, right, with like 4v4 Call of Duty. I kind of give the nod to him just because I think that they'll have a little better teamwork. But I mean, like I said, anything can happen, especially when you have a dark horse, right? We haven't really seen GernaderJake or Mitch Jones make a deep run in our tournaments before, and so sometimes those are the deadliest opponents, right? The opponents that you don't have no idea what's going to happen. Right as we said, they're falling to Anarchy Acres, right? So
that might influence a little bit of the predictions. Fallout. Any thoughts on the initial landing zones from either of our teams?
Yeah, for both teams, kind of unorthodox. You're going to see a Greasy Grove, which we don't see very often, and a Anarchy Acres. So a little more passive outskirts of the map, work your way in. Honestly, this is a roll of a dice, in my opinion. You're going to get a lot of static early at Anarchy Acres because of the challenge. So you might pick up some more kills, but at that point, it's a matter of who can rotate better. But they're going to be rotating in different spots because of the absence out of the map.
Right, I was going to say, like, regarding like maybe either of our positions, kind of the future of this game, you could argue, maybe CouRage and Cizzorz kind of in a more prominent spot. You talk about Greasy Grove, you got places like Shifty, you obviously got Tilted Towers, you got a lot of different options. We know when it comes down to Anarchy Acres, we saw, what was it? I think it was Ninja's team Hysteria. We saw him kind of go around this position, didn't really see anyone for a majority of the game. So while the challenge is here for this week, eliminate opponents in Anarchy Acres, you definitely see a few enemies from time to time, but a majority of our strategy so far throughout the day hasn't really treated it in the way that I'm sure a lot of players most likely thought it would.
As your average Fortnite scrub, I land at Anarchy Acres and Fatal Fields a lot with my friends.
Okay.
And so I can tell you from vast amount of experience, there is maybe 1 to 2 teams tops that fall there, right? So, I mean, again, they might be leaning on the challenge as the driving force behind this drop, but definitely a very unorthodox place. But like at the same time, we see CouRage and Cizzorz going to Greasy, which I think we've maybe seen once or twice tonight.
There's a reason why there's no apartments in Anarchy Acres, it's fair to say. But it looks like as the grenades are out, the unfortunateness for GernaderJake is he's able to stay alive. Looked like a little bit of an awkward situation for the moment, but it looks like he, alongside Mitch Jones, will be able to survive themselves throughout this fight. Both things escaping with the frag, but take a look at our left side of our screen. CouRage and Cizzorz also getting an engagement as well here, Fallout.
Yep, Greasy Grove having a little bit of action as it's going to be CouRage. It's able to take out one. Cizzorz is going to clean up that kill, and they should be more than safe here. As I believe that is all of Greasy completely wiped. As I say that, CouRage looks like he might be pushing someone. Nope, I think that's going to be all she wrote for Greasy. Meanwhile, Anarchy Acres is going to be cleaned up, and when the dust is settled, it is 4 kills to 3 in favor of GernaderJake and Mitch Jones. So as we expected, 2 very similar drops, outskirts of the map, 1 squad per location that they're able to take out. Unfortunately, one happened to be a team of 4. The other was a team of 3, and in result, we have a 1-kill game.
And I'm also curious what the rotation would be for CouRage and Cizzorz. I know earlier we saw a team, it might actually been them, land Greasy Grove and later made the rotation over towards Shifty Shafts. One thing that I know we've talked about in the past has been usually if you're landing Shifty Shafts, it's a matter of early rotating towards Tilted Towers or waiting for those players heading in from Greasy Grove. So kind of a little bit of a transition play for the most part, kind of an opposite strategy for a lot of teams who usually land Shifty is to, like I said, try to find the players from Greasy Grove. In this situation, though, CouRage and Cizzorz, they have the option at hand. I think it's fair to say, gentlemen, we can kind of argue probably the more preferred landing zone when it comes down to a more population of players, a lot more surrounding cities. Like I said, Ryan, Anarchy Acres, not the most prominent when it comes down to a player base.
But, I got to get it how I got it. You know what I'm saying? Like, me and the boys.
Ryan's looking for the W's, man. Kills are important, but the victory royale is what matters the most at the end of the day.
That's right.
But,
all the glory.
Exactly, man. How many wins you got now? 1,000 plus?
I lost count. After like 4,000,
it's hard to keep up. 80,000 kills.
Yeah, Fortnite Master's just like too many. NA can't even keep up with how many this guy has. But taking a quick look at CouRage's perspective, of course, has the hunting rifle out and
like
suspected someone was there.
Yeah, they're going to opt for a Shifty Shafts rotation. You go Shifty, immediately you can cut back to Tilted if you would like to, and you're almost always going to find people at Shifty. I do drop Greasy a lot with my teammate Ribs, and it's a lot of good opportunity as we see a bush.
Oh, Oh, no.
We love bushes.
As Ryan's wearing a Bush shirt as I speak.
Oh, there you go, man.
See?
So great rotation here. They're going to see a team of 3, if not a team of 4, should be able to pick up some good kills here.
Yeah, definitely an opportunity for them to try to establish a little bit of a lead. Nearly getting down to our final 30 players, but here comes the rush from CouRage. We highlight this guy quite a bit, right, when it comes down to the Fortnite Pro-Am. Runner-up when it came down to that matchup, of course, just falling short to Ninja and Marshmallow, but still, very solid player in his own regard. Of course, a fantastic guy as well. Great streamer, him and Cizzorz alike, but here comes the rush, of course, continuing on with CouRage's perspective, getting a few knocks just in the side of the shotgun at his backside. And it looks like sticking very close together. They want to try to find these collective kills, and they're going to do exactly that. Nice knockdown coming in from Cizzorz.
I like that edit to make the opponent fall there to kind of reset him. That was a good play. We talk about kind of what separates the good teams, right? It's the ability to get the kills quick and rotate quick. And we saw CouRage and Cizzorz rotate quicker, and now they're starting to take the lead, see more players. So time and time again, that seems to be kind of like the meta is to get the quick kill a team or two, and then be on your way to the next city. And they're doing the better job right now, and it's looking like they're in the lead.
And based off of right now where we see GernaderJake and Mitch Jones, in your opinion, Fallout, like what's the idealistic call, right? They're on the eastern side of Loot Lake. You have a few options you can kind of go toward, but you think it's a Tilted Towers drop? You think they make their way to Dusty Divot, try to grab some hop rocks and kind of advance their way forward? What's your thoughts being a little bit down? It's by no means an unfortunate drop or an unfortunate deficit they have to suffer, but in your opinion, what do you think the best call would be?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a big part of it depends where the bus came from, which I believe was the east side of the map.
I believe so, yeah.
So with that in mind, it actually might make sense to go towards Tilted, versus Dusty, I think. And they're actually going to split right in the middle between Tilted and Dusty, which should be able to allow them to catch some rotations from Salty, from Tilted, and from Dusty. I think it's a smart play. They're heading the right direction. They're actually going to do a minor split. They can easily recoup and get back together. One person going Dusty, one person going to go check out Tilted Towers. I like that decision. Meanwhile, still at Shifty Shafts are CouRage and Cizzorz. They're taking their time looting up.
Yeah, we talk about one team making a lot of ground, the other pretty much staying in a 50-meter radius, but looking on here exactly to see what the strategies are. Much different, but the scoreline not saying too much, at least for right now, Ryan.
I always love the mid-round push to Dusty just because the hop rocks are like everyone loves the hop rocks no matter if it's the initial,
right,
the middle, the end, right? So there's going to always be people flowing through Dusty. It's also right now it is in the middle of the circle, so I know a lot of people like to do kind of like the circle guarding or whatever we call it, gatekeeping.
Yeah.
So you do kind of lose the ability for that, but I do think that like at any time in the map you can go to Dusty and there's probably going to be people there because there's going to probably be kids in pub matches want to get hop rocks and jump around, right? So I do like that play to kind of go both. I do agree again, Tilted in this point in the map is a good idea as well. I just think that Dusty's kind of always a good point of interest at any time.
The kids these days and their hop rocks,
right?
Back
Back in my day, we ate pop rocks, right? Now they're on these dang hop rocks.
Now you're jumping 30 feet in the air. Definitely a little bit of a different sensation than just the pops in your mouth, but now they're in the entirety of your body. But looking on here, speaking of jumps, CouRage and Cizzorz making a nice little jump pad play here just toward the outskirts of Salty Springs. As I'm seeing a few little pops down there when it comes down to the choices of the map locations, but from afar, Cizzorz trying to bank actually these grenade launcher shots off the mountain and officially will take down an enemy. Now up to 4 kills when it comes down to this lineup. Definitely looking pretty solid when it comes down to these two. At least when it came down to like weekly rankings or really, kind of placements, where we think a lot of these guys are going to kind of reign from, when it came down to certain matches, power rankings, etc. A lot of people were saying, hey man, don't sleep on CouRage and Cizzorz. This is a really solid group. When it comes down to their overall bracket, it seems as if they could easily make it far. Don't have to worry about the early TSM match, the early phase game either. And these guys are absolutely answering the call, right? In our losers quarterfinal game for a reason, but CouRage ends up getting dropped, I believe, at least for right now. He didn't have to worry about getting thirsted, but just as soon as I say that, the caster curse comes forward, and now Cizzorz, not the best of graces at the moment, needs to go big, of course, trying to get as much high ground as he possibly can and trying to rejuvenate a little bit of a push from this duo. Of Optic and FaZe combining for this matchup. Yeah,
and I believe CouRage did have one down. The rotation is going to come through, actually, so that's going to be rough for Cizzorz. He's just going to push desperately for these kills. He did have one down. That's going to be the guy that was down, so he's going to pick up that down and kill. Good job by Cizzorz right now as he's looking to find these last 2 or 3 alive. It looks like they're kind of staying sneaky here. And he's going to get the kill. Can he finish it with the AR? Oof. Not going to connect. Finally, is going to be able to do exactly that. Huge plays from Cizzorz to pick up 2/3 of those kills.
Yeah.
And one thing I want to point out is the way CouRage has been playing in general. When he was in Shifty, put himself in a really dangerous spot by getting close to that shotgun, and he just did it again right there. I think when you're in that situation, you down one, immediately build yourself a 1-by-1 and value your life and stay alive, especially in a duo squads. You have to value your life a little bit more. Right. You can't put yourself in those risky positions because honestly, a one pump can get hit by any noob can one pump you for death. So you gotta be really cautious.
It's true, and that's one thing that we've seen even our highest level of professional players, FaZe, TSM, even Ninja and Hysteria, playing a lot more passively when it comes down to their landing location, also when it comes down to the regular play. TSM is known, right, especially Hamlin's one of the best players in the world, known at getting that high ground when it comes down to a lot of positions. Can he obviously take down the players? Yeah, a majority of the time, but just wants to solidify the factor of having those eliminations go in his way. But just as we start to say those things, Mitch Jones and co. trying to initiate the fights forward, as I believe one player just happened to run just past his line set, of course, has the advantage of the man count favor with GernaderJake at his side. Of course, goes for the side challenge, taking down one, and I believe at the same time, a near kill coming through from Cizzorz, but it looks like, for the most part, all except for one, I believe, 3 for 4 going toward GernaderJake and Mitch Jones, which, having the man count advantage, that's what happens in situations such as that.
Yep. And if I'm Cizzorz right now, I'm doing everything I possibly can. I'm not sure if he has any bounce pads, but to try and create distance. You're going to get outshot.
Yeah.
A 3-to-1 trade is okay, but you want to get at least 1 or 2 squad wipes if you can. So looks like he's trying to dodge him a little bit here. I'm going back for some loot. I wonder how he's going to play this, but if I'm him, I'm backing out and trying to create some distance.
Do we remember how many kills CouRage had?
4 or 3, I believe.
I think around that amount.
Okay, so that would put them at like a 3 or 4 kill advantage.
Right.
Okay,
there we
right
go.
now,
Perfect.
4 kill advantage. So I almost wonder maybe if it's a decent play for Cizzorz to actually stick with them and try and just kind of finesse away a few of their kills. There's only 20-something left. So for them, I mean, if you can get 1 of every 3 kills or whatever, and you have kind of a 4-kill thing, it wouldn't be the worst thing of all time. I mean, there's a chance he goes on his own and finds no one, or he gets pulled up in the middle of a 2-team fight. So I actually kind of like the play, especially because he has a grenade launcher.
Yeah, and a sniper as well, right?
Yeah, to go just disrupt GernaderJake and Mitch Jones and try and steal kills where you can. It's so late in the game.
That's a good point. Yeah, I didn't really know exactly what the score would be. Like like I said, like normally in that situation, a 1 versus 2, you're probably trying to get away from the opposition, try to distance yourself as much as possible to make sure you have the option to really get the frags. But the shoe's on the other foot, right? The player who's in a 1 versus 2 actually has the advantage. So what do you really do in this spot? I mean, do you think that maybe GernaderJake and Mitch Jones should try to initiate things and maybe separate themselves?
They're the ones who should be trying to get out, actually.
They should maybe try to split?
I want Cizzorz away from my kills, right? I'm the one that's down. Especially if there's a grenade launcher. I mean, if he can even just loot the bodies that die in some of these team fights, right?
Yeah.
Continue to pick up grenades, continue to be a kind of disrupting force in what they do. It's, we're almost over. It's only map 1, right? So he just wants to make sure that he doesn't lose the lead by a lot.
And keeping in mind, for all three of our players, actually just double bounce pads actually get rocked there from GernaderJake and Mitch Jones' team. Along with that, Cizzorz has ones in his back pocket, so there's a lot of mobility that we have on the map
Cizzorz
as it currently stands. And Cizzorz taking quite a bit of the chunk when it comes down to that squad who is remaining up, and that's exactly what you want to see for a team who also finds the engagements. And keeping in mind as well, I think he also found another bounce pad on the ground, which is great for him as long as he can kind of keep the players near him or kind of make sure that the distance isn't too great. He's looking at a pretty good spot, I think it's fair to say.
I think he just finessed the slurp from one of them.
Oh, actually, yeah, he got his baby's finesse.
You love to see it.
Yeah, exactly. His mini shield's got finesse too, so it's a land of finessing right now for both of these guys.
Oh man,
gotta be just disrupt and finesse if you're Cizzorz. That's all you gotta do.
That's the way to play.
It's the grind. It's the grind. It's all it is, man. And just like that, Cizzorz going on the bounce pad play. Of course, going toward the outer ring right now of Dusty Divot, kind of pulling that gatekeeping role that we've been bringing up so often throughout the broadcast. Just kind of like I said, keeping the most valuable asset of the entire game at your backside, making the enemy have to rush toward you, and making them have to go through you in order to try to get what is the most important in this game, which of course is staying alive. And just as we start to bring up those things, I believe Cizzorz making his way to the very top of the mountain, and GernaderJake is saying, hey man, feel free to use all your resources because I'm just going to follow you the entire time. So appreciate all those mats and you rocking them. But yeah,
he does have a launch pad as well.
Yeah.
This is what you love to see if you're Cizzorz.
Here we
it's
go.
Literally Christmas. He's going to rain grenades down an entire team and pick up 2 of those kills here. Can he get the 3rd? Looking for it. Can't spot it just yet. Of course, the rotation going to come through from GernaderJake and Mitch Jones, so Cizzorz has to hurry up. He has 2 knocked right now, and he's going to trust that those guys will go down as soon as they pick up this last kill here. Can he get it? Yes,
nice.
He does. So
in.
Cizzorz, by avoiding the other team and getting a few steps ahead, is going to pick up 3 necessary kills here. Might be able to make it a 4th.
And that's great to see, especially from CouRage's point of view. He's probably like rooting on his teammate, be like, hey man, just do your best. And literally, he's 1v2ing them by himself. And yet again, he has, 2-3 jump pads?
He just up to 14 kills in the blink of an eye.
He's making a case. He's like, hey, Cloaksy and Tifa, man, if you guys ever need a sub, I'm happy to be there if you guys ever need one. Solid player, Cizzorz.
He's been making great use of that grenade launcher, too. We always talk about how a lot of pros consider that kind of the best weapon in the game, the strongest weapon in the game. He's showing why that's such a powerful device, especially when you have high builds like that. It does so much damage to not only players but structures.
Definitely.
Even a blue grenade launcher goes to show the damage that thing can do. Is he's going to get another jump
Launch
pad.
padding away.
Yeah. Meanwhile, these guys are just a bunch of jamokes sitting in the middle of a dusty divot, not able to make any ground here until they get a hop rock. But now Cizzorz finds another squad, and guess what? Not in the range are GernaderJake and Mitch Jones. So good opportunity.
Wow.
Another jump pad here. Beautiful plays here from Cizzorz.
Yeah, the amount of mobility that this guy has is absolutely absurd, and that's catering the fact that how he's able to get toward these engagements first. And so just like that, at least 2 players in front of him going to try to get a little bit of support from that backside beam, the backboard that was essentially done on that structure. Desperately trying to find a few of those kills. Of course, winning for the bit rate to get back up for Cizzorz. His gameplay is way too intense, but using that ninja strategy that we talked about, kind of bouncing those grenades off the floor to try to add that damage perfectly into those structures, always great to see, because it's obviously one of the weapons that you can use that you don't even have to be seen to rock it.
Here's the tough part. He's gotten a lot of these guys so weak, and now the rotation is going to come through from GernaderJake and Mike.
Great play.
Looks like it's going to be some good shots, but it will be the actually, Cizzorz gets one of the kills, though, so that's big. That's exactly what he needs.
And one thing that I noticed quickly, taking a look at Cizzorz' kind of loadout that you've been mentioning quite a bit, Fallout, is the factor of not having an assault rifle in your overall arsenal. Is another one's about to be found here from Cizzorz, but no! Oh, man, GernaderJake just from the flank steals that kill. I thought it was all for nothing, but just as we start to say that, nice steal comes through from Gernader, but going back to the quick arsenal from Cizzorz, not an AR in sight, right? He's got the TAC SMG. He's got the gold heavy along with the sniper and grenade launcher combo. I mean, I don't know. I think, like you mentioned earlier, kind of like the meta, that's super straying away from the assault rifles, but there's definitely a lot of weapons that can kind of account for that medium range distance that the assault rifle is obviously very nice to use for.
Yeah, with the accuracy of some of these players, too, I mean, for the average person to use the submachine guns at mid-range, even to long range, is very difficult, right? They have a lot of kickback. Even with the update, it's still much harder than the assault rifle. But for these guys, I mean, they can use that rate of fire and utilize that better than anyone. So,
yeah,
I mean, great plays by them. Cizzorz turned it up with his teammate going down early.
16 frags, I think, something along those lines.
He had like 7 or 8. Next thing you know, like we turned around, looked at each other, I looked back at you, and he had like 15 kills, right? He just absolutely turned it up in the blink of an eye. Did a lot of good kill steals too, and his teammates, and I mean, here we go, 5-kill lead with the teammate going down early. You can't ask for a better result than that for map 1.
Absolutely, and a pretty early drop, right, from CouRage as well. We're kind of saying, okay, like in this situation, what is Cizzorz really going to do? Well, he's actually going to destroy the entire team and hold on to a lead. And I think the one thing that was really nice to see that, of course, along with finding those kills, he was also great at finding those jump pads, which allowed him to be super mobile, always to be kind of ahead of the enemy in those situations. I thought that was great to see. Any kind of note-taking Fallout from that, essentially a fantastic moment from Cizzorz. Anything to really add on to it?
It was, yeah. I think the big thing for me is the early game. I think the GernaderJake and Mitch were outclassed a little bit in early game, dropping Anarchy Acres. They got the 4 kills early. Didn't find a good rotation until they made it to past Salty towards Fatal Field. So I think I want to see a better drop out of them this second game. I like the drop in decision from CouRage and team as they're able to rotate towards Shifty Shafts. Great plays from them. I want to see. I would expect them to play a little more passive this time around. Okay. Interested to see where GernaderJake and co land this time.
Yeah, you guys think it's maybe like an outskirts Salty Springs type of play, or something on those lines? Because I mean, like 5 kills, right?
Ryan, you're still on the tilted train or what?
No, I think 5-kill deficit isn't enough to have to do a desperation play like that. I mean, I don't know, we talk about like the usual places like, oh, is it an outskirts Salty? Is it maybe a Shifty? But like last time they landed at Anarchy and Greasy, right? So it's like these are 2 teams that have been landing in little unorthodox places. So I'm not really sure where we're going to see them land. We talk about how great of a play it was by Cizzorz with CouRage going down early. At the end of the day, though, it is only a 5-kill lead, right? That can be a race in the matter of seconds. That's a team and a half, tops. So. GernaderJake and Mitch Jones had to have their work cut out for him. At the same time, you do have CouRage and Cizzorz coming out at full force now. That's the second time we've seen a solo player kind of go on like a rampage to keep the team alive and then build a lead when you think that the opponent has the opportunity now to go build one. So great plays.
Distortion do it, seen Ninja do it, King Richard. So
Hysteria just did it. I mean, we've been seeing a ton of it.
He's definitely in good company. It's fair to say, as Cizzorz. Or you look at really the stacked up of players that he of course joins alongside. But fantastic play from Cizzorz as now he can kind of himself and CouRage rely on the fact that, hey, we don't have to go super hard when it comes down to at least the start of this game. I'm thinking maybe they at least think about a Greasy Grove landing. Of course, that worked out for them very well last time, just kind of on the outskirts of places like Shifty, of course, Tilted as well. But main question to be asking is, where's GernaderJake and where is Mitch Jones going to land? And based off their landing zone, it looks like Tilted has been marked.
It's a great drop for Salty, too.
Yeah, I mean,
it's true. It's right over right over the bus.
But it looks like they're going to go Tilted. I mean, I guess they're baiting it and going to go...
Maybe a little audible?
We'll see where they end up.
Finessing,
Looks like
potentially, boys.
We love finesse potential.
Right? But, yeah, it looks like GernaderJake is just assessing the factor of how many players are around and probably been a little bit nervous, right? I mean, you see, 35 people landing at Tilt the Tower. She's like, okay.
Tilt the drop. We're here.
Yeah, they're here to stay, baby. They're going, maybe L's, Clock Tower?
Man, GernaderJake is about that action.
Jeez. It looks like they're going to do a little bit of a split, not even landing together. One in L's and one inside a Clock Tower. Mitch Jones, people have been giving him a lot of credit so far throughout this tournament, saying he has been playing unreal. Time to show it.
They're putting their money where their mouth is, man. This is a risky jump.
Definitely is. And also, along with that, CouRage and Cizzorz, as looks like engagement's going down really quickly. GernaderJake taking a little bit of damage, but thankfully finds the knockdown. But I think maybe even to counter that one Fallout, we see CouRage and Cizzorz going to retail row. They probably weren't expecting to go toward a pretty high pressure situation, a very high pressure location like this. But I think after maybe watching Tilted, they say, hey, we don't want to get in a situation to where these guys are finding frags and we can't really attest to it. So I don't know. I think maybe that's the reason why they go that location. You think?
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, you're only up by 5 kills, so you can't get too comfortable. I think you still need to drop in a named location in a city, somewhere where you can get at least a little bit of early game going. And it's gonna be on the left side of your screen. You see CouRage facing a little bit of static here. Good SMG play is gonna get him at least one down, but still has the rest of the team to fight against. Meanwhile, Cizzorz is gonna get top house. He's gonna give himself some nice support. And this is something you like to see in retail, is that exact play. Meanwhile, right side of your screen is gonna be a member going down. That's gonna be, I believe, Mitch Jones, who was taken out of the game, all up to GernaderJake, down by 5 kills.
He's in shambles right now. He's taking his headset off, leaving the room.
Oh, boy.
He needs a break.
You hate to see
and that's
it.
totally understandable. I think GernaderJake was maybe a half a second away from firing a shot in the enemy, which just happened to thirst Mitch in that situation. You could argue, right, in that exact play, the one shot to the chest, the half second that comes into play where GernaderJake isn't there, could be the ending of this series, the potential for GernaderJake and Mitch Jones to move forward. But, of course, as we digress, taking a look at CouRage and Cizzorz' overall play just inside of retail row, sitting pretty. It looks like CouRage Arsenal sitting pretty nice as well. And looking at Cizzorz, right, he's got the blue zoom. He's feeling pretty good. So
they're not stopping, man. They're getting all kinds of kills right now.
Oh, yeah.
This is not looking good for GernaderJake and Mitch Jones.
Not at all, but definitely a player to be looking out for. Top right, GernaderJake already in some engagements, needs to find a few of these kills.
That's a trap.
Oh, he actually puts up the ramp to try to dodge the trap. I think it might have done a little bit of damage. That might have just been team shots. Not exactly sure the case, but this player is set in stone and wanting to stay in this 1v1, and GernaderJake might have to play bully and start to hammer down on this roof.
As he knows there's actually a trap there as well, so has to be a little bit cautious. He got himself a great builder that he's going up against. Finally going to eliminate him. Great job by GernaderJake winning that 1v1 against a formidable opponent, as he's going to medkit up here. 2 medkits to his name. Should be in a good spot. So can he pull off his finest Hysteria, Cizzorz, High Distortion, Ninja impression and carry this game? Meanwhile, 2 kills and 3 kills, so 5 kills combined for CouRage and Cizzorz. It's not looking good if you're a fan of GernaderJake and Mitch Jones, but we'll see if he can pull it off.
Yeah, down in game number 2 after being down, I think it was 5 kills heading into after game number 1. So not looking the best, but it's not the biggest deficit we've ever seen, obviously. It easily is doable. I say easily with a grain of salt there. I mean, compared to the other discussions, the other players that we bring up in that talk of amazing solo plays. But, yeah, I think if you're GernaderJake in the situation, you're pretty much hoping that you can find some easy squads, along with the fact of praying that CouRage or Cizzorz can happen to run into a solid player, maybe like a John Wick or maybe even a Omega for this season potentially. But yeah, they're sitting pretty good in retail row, and they're continuing to play this consistent type of play style here, Ryan. They haven't really dropped too much. I think it's fair to say none of them have been really that low on HP throughout this series. They're sitting pretty for the most part.
That's it. Oh, I thought he was going to fall to the ground there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, going back to CouRage and Cizzorz, they just need to stay alive at this point, right? I mean, they have their lead obviously isn't insurmountable, but they have the man advantage, right? They have good resources. The kills aren't flying in for GernaderJake necessarily, and they're still getting kills themselves and still moving around enough. So I think if you're they're up 7 kills right now. So if you're CouRage and Cizzorz, you just need to basically kind of stay alive, let the game progress, and until GernaderJake starts doing some Ninja or High Distortion-esque rampage, you're pretty much okay to just kind of continue to move the map at a fairly slow pace, play pretty conservative, and get the natural kills where you get them.
And if you're CouRage and Cizzorz, right, you have a mini map. You can see GernaderJake's overall score. You can see his health. You know what's going on with this guy regarding a lot of these situations. So they can kind of have a little bit of an idea as to what's happening right now. And just as that goes through, GernaderJake will fall to I believe that's pink ink. So rather unfortunate player to drop toward, but still, man, GernaderJake and Mitch Jones have officially been eliminated from Friday Fortnite week number 8, but respectable tournament for those guys. Of course, we talked about some really maybe not names that we're not familiar with seeing. those two guys, man, they have a heck of a tournament, played incredibly well, and obviously props to them. Have a little bit of a slow game off the start. We talked about landing zones, Anarchy Acres, etc. Not seeing a whole lot of opponents really set up Cizzorz and CouRage to kind of go on that spree, and also Cizzorz in game number 1 puts up, I think, 14, 15, 16 frags solo. A lot of it being in a 1 versus 2 situation. So, I mean, you argue Cizzorz doesn't go off, maybe a different landing location. We could be saying, hey, welcome to Loser Semis, the opposite team here. So, any thoughts throughout that series?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. What a phenomenal first performance for GernaderJake and Mitch Jones. I mean, to make it as far as they did, defeating Nick Merckx and a lot of big names in the process. I mean, it was an amazing run. Meanwhile, on the flip side, CouRage and Cizzorz, man, I'm liking this duo. They make it far in winner's bracket, get knocked to loser's bracket, don't show that they're shook at all. They're able to bounce back, win that one pretty decisively, and now they're going to move on to play against Ninja and Hysteria in our loser's bracket semifinal.
It's a tough task. I've been